Sinclair School Number 3 was built in 1910 and remained in operation through 1952, providing basic education to hundreds of students in the Sinclair Township area in Stutsman County. On the chalkboard, you will see names of notable people from the Jamestown area. Baseball legend Darren Erstead, author Louis L'Amour, and singer Peggy Lee were just a few of the notable North Dakota natives. You may also see NBA head coach Phil Jackson, former home run king Roger Maris, and actress Angie Dickinson. Life for students in schoolhouses like this one was very different from what students experience today. Imagine being an 8th grader in a classroom full of students that were younger than you, some of which were only in the 1st grade. This was a frequent occurrence in one-room schoolhouses, which were extremely common during the early 1900s, which is when this school was built. Schoolhouses like this one held up to 30 students. This organization also collected and donated all of the items inside the schoolhouse. Many of the items are typical of what would have been found in the schoolhouse in the early 1900s. The furniture you see was obtained from other schoolhouses throughout the years. The university women also provided the flag you see hanging outside. Throughout the years, many teachers taught in this schoolhouse. The first was Sabella Kusator, whose photograph is hanging on the wall. The last teacher was Eugenia Zenker, who taught in this schoolhouse until 1952, when it closed. Her photo is also on the wall. One-room schoolhouses may be small, but some would consider this advantageous. Ann Snow, a former teacher and student of a one-room schoolhouse, said many students were very knowledgeable in some subjects because they would hear the same information up to 5 years in a row. She also said that although it was easier to teach students in a one-room schoolhouse, the preparation for teaching numerous grades at one time was a demanding task. This is not something you typically see teachers doing today. If it rained, students would stay indoors and entertain themselves with activities such as memory games. In the winter months, some students were brought to school by tractor, since trudging through the snow for several miles could take hours. Teachers of one-room schoolhouses were only required to attend college for 1 year before they received their rural teaching certificate. Teachers were not required to pay back their tuition if they taught in a rural schoolhouse for 1 year. Area colleges such as Valley City State University had rural teaching programs. Some of the aspiring teachers would attend college in September, and by October they would be student teaching in a rural schoolhouse. Students were considered fortunate if they had a piano in their school. The piano you see here was donated by the Old Franklin School in Jamestown. Due to the limited amount of space, globes were suspended above desks and simply lowered during geography lessons. Do you notice anything missing from this Pledge of Allegiance? In 1954, Dwight Eisenhower mandated that the words "Under God" be added to the Pledge of Allegiance. As you can see, this Pledge of Allegiance was made before this mandate. Picture your school library. Now imagine it with only a dozen books on the shelf. Books were a precious commodity for one-room schoolhouses, and students were lucky if they had as many books as you see here. Life as a student in a one-room schoolhouse was very different 100 years ago. However, some students still experience what it is like to learn in a one-room schoolhouse. In 2008, there were still 4 rural schoolhouses still in use in North Dakota.